almost a dozen cabinet ministers did not make the cut for the new ANC NEC, and President Cyril Ramaphosa has called for patience ahead of a possible cabinet reshuffle. Now, should that reshuffle happen, what expertise are needed for the departments that will be reshuffled? Well, we're joined by Professor Kedibone, Phago, Director of the School of Government Studies at Northwest University. Thank you very much, Prof, for availing yourself this afternoon. So for the purpose of time, we're only going to take a look maybe at 5 positions, 1 or 2 that we know definitely are going to need a new person at the helm. Let's start with the position of that was held by Ayanda Dlodlo, who has since moved to the World Bank. What expertise are needed for this department as she has left? And we understand that Tula Singlesi is the interim caretaker for her department.
Sorry, Dudu, I missed that. I think I'm not sure if the line is not very well, or the audio.
Okay. Are you able to hear us now?
Yes.
Okay. Let's start with the position that has been left vacant by Ms. Ayanda Dlodlo as she moved to the World Bank, the position of Public Service and Administration. Why is that department important, and what kind of expertise are needed should there be a cabinet reshuffle?
Thanks, Dudu. It's quite a very important, and thanks to your viewers as well. Public Service and Administration Department is quite an important, very significant department. It plays a role in many ways, but guiding the framework under which public servants, especially in the national government department, in the provinces, are functioning under. So it really sets a tone on the conduct, on the performance of public officials. So if we don't really have a very strong line of march for our public officials coming from the DPSA, then you will see the entire government structure struggling to function, because there is no stability at the Department of Public Service and Administration. So it's a very important department for any country, for that matter.
Minister Ibrahim Patel did not make it onto the ANC's NEC list. Should there be a cabinet reshuffle and he is then moved, what expertise are needed, and why is this particular department important for South Africa, trade and industry? So
these are very difficult economic times, and one of the reference points you will remember that the Department of Trade and Industry was negotiating with the Americans on the AGOA and the dumping of the chickens on South Africa. So you really need to make sure that it's we consolidate that department to make sure that the business environment for the country, especially with our multilateral institutions, is really going in the way that benefits the country. So you need someone who is well vested into the issues of international relations, finance, and that they are able to understand the functioning of the multilateral institutions such as World Bank, IMF, but also the way we relate and trade with other countries. It's a very important department as well. And so we want to make sure that the kind of people we appoint there are not just cadres, but that people who understand the nuances that are involved in those kind of discourse.
Another position that we know is a foregone conclusion will be vacant is that of the Transport Ministry, as Fikile Mbalula will be heading to Luthuli House full-time. Why is the Transport Department so critical for South Africa? And whomever is going to be appointed Transport Minister, what criteria will be used, or what skills should they have?
Dudu, I think you will agree with me that we have seen the collapse of very important state-owned enterprises, including PRASA, that runs our trains. We have seen our road networks, littered with potholes. So this means that the person who comes to take over the role of the transport minister really need to be vested with the issues that are complex that we are facing, the PRASA issues, the road network issues, but we also have the taxi industry that is very complex to manage with the Uber industry and taxi. So we really are embattled as a country in terms of consolidating our gains in making sure that our road networks, our rail networks, even the South African Airways has a very strong transport element. So we really would want somebody who understands the manner in which government functions, but the markets as well functions, the infrastructure of these networks function. The point I'm trying to drive to you and the viewers, Dudu, is that we need people who understand the complex nature of government and that they will be up to the task. Otherwise, you appoint people who get lost, and so that is probably the part of the reason we are in trouble. So I think it is really for the president to think hard about the South Africans' needs in terms of travelings in the morning, going back to work. But you will also, if you travel our roads, you will see there's a lot of congestion. And the question we have is, what kind of a transport plan do we have for South Africa? Do we really, can we continue like this? What should be happening? And I think these are difficult questions that the president need to be addressing by appointing the relevant and very well qualified people for us.
Yeah. Another position is that of international relations, as Menaledi Pandor did not make the cut for the ANC's NEC. Should there be a reshuffle where this position is important? The person coming in, what capabilities do they need to possess, and why is this critical for the country?
Yes, and as you understand, post-COVID, and even with the question of the Ukraine-Russia crisis, the war that is happening, we need somebody who is really able to position South Africa in the global scheme of things. Someone who is able to sell our brand. So you will remember that there have been a lot of developments as well happening. Sometimes back we held a seminar in our school, and we were trying to discuss the position of South Africa that talks to Ukraine-Russia crisis. And the reason we spoke about that, it was because there was at some point a visit by the Foreign Affairs Minister from the U.S. I think I can't remember, they called them Secretary for State Forward. They visited South Africa, and immediately after that, our Minister of Defense, I think a week apart, the Minister of Defense from South Africa visited Russia. And these are some of the issues that we were trying to grapple with and try to unpack the meaning of this. And again, it has a lot of impact on how we are viewed, and the manner in which we are viewed by the global world can have a material implication into our own development, our investments, the manner in which we engage with other countries. South Africa will be the presiding as the president of BRICS countries from this year, and so you need somebody who really can position our South African brand in such a manner that we are able to rebuild our economy. And so I think the president is going to, if we look at the list for the NEC members, he's really going to struggle to pick up the names, because I've gone through that, and I think there are very few people that, I'm personally convinced that understand the complex nature of governance and even the ministries that you are we are discussing, me and you today.
Prof, thank you very much for helping us make sense of all of that. And